Welcome to 4.13 of the Provocateur. As a reminder, this profile is motivated to act out by stating shocking things or playing the class clown with the intent to gain peers that they can dominate. In childhood, this typically was the invisible or ignored unless they were considered entertaining. They grew up in environments with chaotic boundaries where attention and reward came through shock and disruption. They learned early that saying something outrageous got them noticed and that negative attention was better than no attention at all. A strong case study for this profile is Elon Musk. After his parents divorced, he chose to live with his father, that by his own words was a terrible human being, and subjected him to psychological torture and constant verbal abuse. This would have impacted his gate 48, which creates this deep inadequacy, which is supported by his undefined will center. Musk becoming the richest person on the planet, buying Twitter to control public discourse, and inserting himself into government. These are all expressions of an undefined will trying to prove themselves and that they matter. At school, Musk was severely bullied. At one point, he was actually beaten to the point of hospitalization that was triggered by him telling a classmate that their father was stupid for unaliving themselves. Gates 20 and 23 gives him no filter between thought and expression. Together, without awareness, they create someone who says whatever comes to mind with no pause for consequence. He also attended a wilderness survival camp where bullying was encouraged and the children were made to fight over food rations. These environments would have reinforced that lesson that dominance through disruption was a survival strategy that sits in his defined spleen and activate through his words by the channel of charisma. As a pure manifesting generator with a 3-5 profile in the not self, this profile can become someone who creates chaos to stay relevant using controversy as fuel and often becomes the controversial figure. It has been reported that Musk is on the autism spectrum, which can affect one's ability to read social cues. However, what distinguishes this profile is the lack of apparent interest in self-correction. Musk's behavior doesn't change. In fact, it often escalates. This suggests that something beyond neurodivergence is at play. Astrologically, this is the shadow side of Gemini. Shadow, it trolls, destabilizes, and uses language as a weapon. Elon has Venus in Gemini that shows his relating style craves stimulation through words, ideas, novelty, and reaction. For those on the lower end of the spectrum, therapeutic intervention needs to address multiple layers. For those with neurodivergent aspects, applied behavior analysis can help with social processing aspects. Otherwise, narrative therapy can be effective for examining the stories this type typically tells about themselves. Dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT, addresses the emotional dysregulation and impulsivity that drives the provocative behavior. And this concludes all the profiles, but make sure to follow as I explain how this all ties back to the US and why it's in the position that it is in today. Coming up next.